All right. We were talking about the culture or the human world, and one of the most important aspects is the culture. We're covering the aspects of the culture, and we have reached till the government. Who can start reading? Okay. Hannah Hamdi, go ahead.
Okay. Government is another element of culture. Despite differences, governments around the world share certain features. They maintain order within an area and provide protection from outside dangers. Governments also provide services to citizens. Such services typically include education and transportation infrastructure. Different cultures have different ways of distributing power and making rules.
So here we said that the government has like two or three main rules. Who can mention the rules of the government? Nanu? Nanu?
Distributing rules ولا make ولا services.
Rules or services, they are the same.
Okay. Education and transportation infrastructure.
Mhm.
And they also distribute power and make rules.
Yes, and they are having a very
Maintain order and protection.
thank you very much. And they are providing protection and maintain order within an area or a country. These are the three main roles of the government. Let's move to the economy. Judy?
Economies control the use of natural resources and define how goods are produced and distributed to meet the human needs. Some cultures have their own type of economy, but most follow the economy of the area where they live. This allows people or different cultures living in an area to trade and conduct other types of business with one another. For example, many people in Benin, West Africa, sell goods in open air markets. Some people bring items to the markets to trade for the goods they need, but others pay for goods using paper money and coins.
So the economy or economies actually make a very important role, which is controlling. Controlling what? Rim Guda, what does the economy control?
The use of natural resources and the goods they produce.
All right. So when they are controlling the natural resources and the goods they are distributing among the humans, okay? Um, is it allows also people from different cultures who are living in a different area to do what?
To trade.
Yes, to trade among each other and to conduct different types of businesses for each other. He has given us an example from West Africa. Who can mention the example? Let's see. Hannah Dorghem.
Sell goods in open air market.
All right. Sell goods in open air markets. This is where? Where, ya Hannah?
West Africa.
West Africa. All right. So they need whether to pay using paper money or and coins or to trade goods for other goods. So this is basically the economy. Economy does a very important roles. Number one, it controls the natural resources of people, and number two, it controls the trade, whether trading goods with goods or goods with money and coins. Let's move to the cultural regions. Okay, Nano, read.
A cultural region is a geographic area in which people have certain traits in common. People in a cultural region often live close to one another to share resources for social reasons and to keep their cultures and communities strong. Cultural regions can be large or relatively small. For example, one of the world's largest cultural areas stretches across northern Africa and Southwest Asia. The cultural region is home to millions of people of the Islamic or Muslim culture. A much smaller cultural region is Spanish Harlem in New York City. This cultural region is home to a large and growing Hispanic culture.
All right. So, what's the definition of a culture region? What's the definition of a culture region? مؤمن العزبي. Tell me what's the definition of a cultural region?
Is a geographic area in which people have certain traits in common.
Okay. Maya, can you tell me what are the certain traits or the common traits? Maya? Yusuf? Yusuf?
Yes, yes.
Tell me what are the certain traits in a culture region or the common traits?
They live close to one another, share resources for social reasons, and to keep their cultures and communities strong.
Thank you, Yusuf. He said here that culture regions can be large or small, and he has given us two examples for the largest culture area and the smallest. Who can mention the two examples for the largest and the smallest? Fadia?
Miss, can you please repeat the question again because my phone is lagging?
He said that the culture regions has two sizes. They can be large or relatively small. Can you tell me an example for a large one and a small one? Hannah Hamdi answered the question.
One of the world's largest cultural areas stretches across northern Africa and southwest Asia. This cultural region is home to millions of people of the Islamic or Muslim culture. And another smaller culture is the Spanish Harlem and New York City.
Thank you, Hannah. Let's move to the government. Okay. Um, Hannah Durgam, read.
Government. All nations need some type of formal leadership. What differs among countries is how leaders are chosen, how make the rules, who makes the rules, how much freedom people have, and how much control government have over people's life. Many different kind of government system operate in the world today. Three of the most common are democracy, monarchy, and
Dictatorship. So,
dictatorship.
what are the three common ruling system or government system? What are the three common government system? Fadia?
Um, Three of the most common are democracy, monarchy, and dictatorship.
Yes,
Dictator.
democracy, monarchy, and dictatorship. Let's have a comparison between the democracy and the monarchy and the dictatorship. Luigi,
Okay.
read democracy.
In a democracy, the people hold the power. Citizens of of a nation make the decision themselves. A democracy is a system of government that runs people in the democratic system of government. People are free to propose laws and policies. Citizens vote to decide which laws and police will be set in this place. When people run the government, their rights and freedoms are protected.
And some, continue.
In some democracies, the people elect leaders to make and carry out laws. Representative democracy is a form of democracy in which citizens elect government officials represent the people. The government representatives make and carry out laws and policies on behalf of the people. The United States is an example of representative democracy.
So again, let me explain this part. One of the most important ruling system is the democracy. And in democratic system, people hold the power, but it is run by the government. So the people have the right to vote and decide which laws and policies are acceptable and which are not. And their rights are protected and also their freedom. In the democracies, people elect their leaders and elect also a representative democracy, which is a form in which citizens elect the government official who will carry out the laws. So, in democratic society, people hold the right to vote, hold the power to elect the representatives, and their freedom and their rights are protected. So, the power comes from citizens, not from the government. What about the monarchy? Hala, Hala Tariq, go ahead.
Yes.
Hala, please, before
Mon
we start, Hala, you didn't take your quiz too. I sent you an email. Did you receive it?
yes, I received it and I sent it to you and it says thanks. And your response was submitted.
Okay, so please, ya Hala, can you come on the day of the exam to take your quiz
Uh,
to my office, okay? I'll be waiting for you. Continue reading, ya Hala. Monarchy?
A monarchy is ruled by a king or a queen. In a monarchy, power and leadership are usually passed down from older to younger generations through heredity. The ruler of a monarchy, called a monarch, is usually a king, a queen, a prince, or a princess. In the past, monarchs had absolute power or complete and unlimited power to rule the people. Today, most monarchs only represent or stand for a country's traditions and values, which elected officials run the government. The United Kingdom is an example of the monarchy.
Thank you, ya Hala. So the monarchy is a very live example or represented in United Kingdom. Actually, the monarchy is ruled by a king or queen, and they are holding the leadership power, but they choose government officials in order to run the country. They have very important thing, which is ruling people by keeping the country's traditions and values. This is the monarchy. What about the dictatorship? Hannah Abul Magd, Hannah, Hannah Abul Magd. If not, one is not responding. I put him in the Hannah Al Kinzi Tahan.
Miss I read,
Yes, read the dictatorship.
a dictatorship is a form of the government in which one person has absolute power to the rule and control the government, the people, and the economy. The people who live under the dictatorship often have rights with absolute power. A dictator can make law with no consent for how just, fair, and practices the law are. The North Korea is an example for the dictatorship. Some dictators abuse their powers for the person gain. One negative consequence for abuse of the power is lacking the person freedom and the human rights for the general public. The human rights are the rights that belongs to all individuals. These rights are the same for every human in every culture. Some basic human rights are the right to the life and liberty and security and privacy and freedom from the self and fair treatment before the law, as well as the right to marry and have children.
Thank you, Yakinzi. So the dictatorship actually is also a form of government, but one person has the absolute power to rule and control the government and the people and the economy. He has all the right to control everything in the country. We have a practical example in North Korea for dictatorship because the president is holding everything, controlling every single detail in the country. But actually, we have something called human rights, and these rights belong to the individuals living in a country and it should be protected. And this kind of system is against the human rights because actually they don't have the right, they have their own liberty, security, privacy, freedom from slavery, and the fair treatment from the law or before the law. And also the right to marry and have children because some countries force you to marry in a certain age and force you to have a limited number of children. So this is a form of a dictatorship. Now I want the three of you to explain to the whole class again the three forms of the government. One will be democracy, the other one will be the monarchy, and the third one will represent the dictatorship. Who can volunteer? So Hannah Hamdi,
Yes.
which system would you present?
Um, monarchy.
Monarchy, okay. Judy,
Democracy.
all right. And then we will take the dictatorship.
Okay.
Who will start? I'll start with the democracy. Judy, go ahead.
Can you go a little up? Please?
I don't want you to read, just summarize.
Oh, okay.
All right?
One minute. The democracy. In democracy, the people hold the power. Um, the citizens make the decision for themselves. It's a system of government that is run by people. The people are free to propose laws and policies. The citizens of the country only have to vote and decide laws and policy that will be set in the country. Um, when people or citizens run the country, their rights and the freedoms are protected. Uh, in some democracies, the people select their leaders to make and carry out laws. A representative democracy is a form of democracy in which citizens elect government official to represent the people. The government representatives then make and carry out laws on behalf of the people. The United States is an example of a representative democracy.
Thank you very much, Judy. Let's move to the monarchy. Hannah Hamdi.
Okay. Monarchy, it is ruled by a king or queen. It is usually passed down from older to younger generations. The ruler of the monarchy is called a monarch, and it should be a king, a queen, a prince, or princess. Today, most monarchs only represent or stand for a country's tradition and values, while elected officials run the government. The Kingdom is an example of the monarchy because it has this system of the king and queen.
Thank you, Hannah. What about dictatorship? Summarize it, yeah, Nano. Go ahead.
It's one person
Mhm.
in power and has absolute power and control over the government, the economy, and the people. It has negative consequences, yani, that some dictators use the power to for personal gains, not caring about the people's human rights and their freedoms. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. So we are dealing with three different types of government in our country. Let's move to the cultural shifts. What's meant by cultural shifts? Okay, let me check who's going to read this part. Jana? Jana? Khadija.
Miss Irene?
Yes, please. The culture shift.
Okay. Culture relocate. They bring their cultural tradition with them. They blend with the culture of the places where they settle. Over time, as people of many cultures move to a location, the culture of that location also cities such as London and New York are diverse cultures.
Your internet is not good يا خديجة. Yusuf,
Miss, I read
start from culture shift again.
okay. Cultures change over time for many reasons. When people relocate, they bring their culture traditions with them. The traditions often influence or blend with the cultures of the places where they settle. Over time, as people of many cultures move to a location, the culture of that location takes on elements of all the cultures within it. Cities such as London and New York are examples of areas that have richly diverse cultures.
All right. So we said that culture can change over time for many reasons. When people relocate, they are mixing their cultural traditions with others, people in other locations. For example, you have areas in New York and London. They have rich, diverse cultures. So let's talk about the culture change, but in the next session because we have another session. The next session after the break is our session. So we're going to be completing the lesson in the next session. Let's log out now. Then we join again after the break. Okay. See you after break, inshallah. Bye.